Have you ever stopped to think about how much you can learn from just like one single page of a textbook? Well, today, we're putting that to the test. We're going to dive into a simple story about a girl named Laura, and along the way, we're going to uncover some of the most useful rules in the entire Spanish language. Let's get right into it. Okay, so here she is. This is Laura. She loves to read, and right now she is totally absorbed in her book. And this brings up a really big question for anyone learning Spanish. How do you talk about something that's happening right this second? Figuring that out is pretty much our main mission today. All right, first things first, let's set the scene a little bit. You know, every good grammar lesson really starts with a good story. So let's find out what's got Laura so captivated. So, it turns out Laura is a big-time animal fan. The book she's reading is called El Rey de la Selva, which, you guessed it, means the king of the jungle. And believe it or not, this simple kids book is actually our key to unlocking some really important stuff in Spanish. So what is this King of the Jungle story all about, anyway? Well, like any good book, it's packed with vivid descriptions, which gives us the perfect opportunity to scoop up some new vocabulary.
The book is described as muy interesante, very interesting, but an even better, more colorful word the text gives us is entretenido, which means amusing or entertaining. And it's clearly working because Laura just can't seem to put it down.
And where is all this happening? Well, the title kind of gives it away. El Rey de la Selva. Selva, that just means jungle. It's a simple word, but pretty essential when you're talking about the king of the animals. So who is this king of the jungle? Well, the book really doesn't hold back. Get this, the lion is described as osado, which is daring, valiente, brave, amable, kind, and muy amistoso, which means very friendly. So yeah, this is definitely not your average lion. He's a real hero. Let's just zoom in on that one word for a second, valiente. It means brave. It's a core part of who our hero is. And it's a perfect example of how just one word can paint a really clear picture of a character. Okay, so we've got our setting, and we've got our hero. But how do we talk about what Laura's doing while she's reading all of this? For that, we gotta pop the hood and take a look at the engine of the sentence, the grammar. Remember where we started? Ahora ella está leyendo un libro. Right now, she is reading a book. That little two-word phrase, está leyendo, is the absolute key. It's how Spanish says, hey, this is happening as we speak. So let's break it down. And the formula for this is actually way simpler than you might think. Check it out. It's basically a three-part recipe. First up, you need the sujeto, the subject, who's doing the thing. In our case, it's ella, or she. Next, you need the right form of the verb estar, which is our helping verb. And finally, you tack on the gerundio, which is just a fancy name for the main verb with that ing kind of ending. So how do you make that ing form? You're gonna love this, because it follows a super simple pattern. For verbs that end in AR, like hablar, you just chop off the AR and add undo. Boom, done. For verbs that end in ER or IR, like comer or vivir, you drop that ending and add yendo instead. Seriously, that's it. Okay, so that's how you talk about what one person is doing. But language is all about interaction, right? It's about connecting with people. So let's jump back into our story and see how Spanish handles that. Our hero, the lion, he's a helpful guy. The text tells us he siempre ayuda a los animales débiles. He always helps the weak animals. And this is interesting because it sets up this idea of doing something for or with someone else. And this is where it gets personal. It's one thing to talk about them, but what if the lion is helping me? Or what if you want to say that you want to go to the jungle with you? Spanish has a really cool little shortcut for this. Okay, so here's the deal, and this is super important. When you want to say with me, you can't just say conmigo. No way. Spanish squishes those two words together into one special word, conmigo. Same thing for with you. It becomes contigo. These aren't just suggestions. They're required combinations that you will hear constantly. Whew, okay, that was a lot. We've covered some new words, a really important verb tense, and some tricky little pronouns. Now comes the most important part. Let's put it all together so you can actually go out and use it. And you know, this kind of brings us full circle to our last vocabulary word, aprender, which means to learn. The story points out that while Laura is reading, ella también está aprendiendo. She is also learning. And really, isn't that what we've been doing this whole time too? So here's your game plan, your 4-step guide to building these kinds of sentences. Step 1, spot an action that's happening right now. Step 2, pick the right form of estar. Step 3, add that ando or yendo ending onto your main verb.
And step 4, if you're with someone, don't forget to use those special shortcuts, conmigo and contigo. You've totally got this.
So, we're going to end right where we started. But this time, the question is for you. We've seen what Laura is learning by reading her book. So now, I want you to think about it for a second. Ahora, ¿qué estás aprendiendo tú? What are you learning right now?